Belly fat is one of the most common signs of menopause, and it's really hard to shift, isn't it? Because there's a biological reason that it's happening to your body, and I'm going to take a viewer question and we're going to go through a step-by-step process that you can implement, which doesn't mean ditching carbs, by the way, and actually see success. Drop inches off your waist. Hello fam, and welcome to my channel. My name's Melissa Neal, and this channel is all about helping you, if you're a woman over 40 or like me over 50, get in amazing shape. But we've got a bit of an uphill battle when it comes to perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause. But you might even start experiencing fat around your midsection before even perimenopause, because your hormones, specifically estrogen, is depleting. And what that does is it causes your body to try and make more estrogen. And when your body does that, what happens is you produce fat and you store more fat, and that typically sits around your midsection. So I know when I used to look at older ladies and I used to think, well, why have they put on so much weight? Maybe they're eating more. And it wasn't until I got to that stage in life myself that I realised, it's something that you simply can't help. It's nature and it is going to happen. However, there is something you can do about it if you employ the right techniques. I've had this question from Caroline Moons Amy. This is absolutely typical, really, of a lot of questions that people ask on my channel. She says, help, can't lose belly fat, workouts. I assume she means she's working out, but not sure whether I should include bread and rice in my diet. So that's really is interesting, because a lot of the time people think you need to go on like a ketogenic diet or something like that, and you absolutely do not need to do that. I wouldn't actually recommend it either, because actually what it's going to do is it's going to make you feel really drained. It's quite difficult for a woman at this stage in life to have a diet like a ketogenic diet. Keep going in terms of your energy levels, but also carbohydrates are really important for brain function. So let's get into it. The first thing you need to think about, Caroline, and you've identified this because you said workouts, you've got to identify your exercise, but it's really important not to do tons and tons of cardio or even sit-ups when we're thinking about getting rid of belly fat. We don't want to do things like going and doing long distance runs for 2 hours. That's not the way to get rid of belly fat. And what you can actually find is if you do that, you're losing a lot of muscle, which you can't afford to lose muscle, and you're actually going to still retain all that fat around your midsection. So I just put a picture of me. That's me with fat around my midsection, and I was doing tons of running. That's exactly what I wouldn't recommend. The other thing is people assume, you need to do tons of sit-ups, but actually what that's really good for, and any kind of ab exercises, they're good for strengthening your core, but it doesn't get rid of belly fat, because what you're going to find is you've got just a wall of muscle behind fat if you implement that. So what you have to do is have a strategy for burning fat all over your body. You will find, and I find with working with women, this happens quite often, is their midsection is the first place that the fat actually comes off, which is absolutely incredible. So when you think about your waist measurement going down, often when you're implementing these strategies I'm going to talk about, then what's going to happen is that's the first place it's going to go, which is absolutely what you want. So the first thing to think about is strength training. So Caroline, I don't know what workouts you're doing, but you need to be lifting weights, and you need to be lifting heavy. You could do it in the gym or you could do it at home. It doesn't really matter, but if you're a bit more experienced, it's good after a couple of years to get in the gym or equip your home with more advanced equipment. So that's the first thing, and I want you to do that 3 or 4 times a week. That's really important, and you want to be doing doing at least 30 minutes, 45 minutes, up to an hour. When you go past something like an hour and 20 minutes, it loses its impact and you're kind of getting into the world of overtraining. So you want to be doing strength training to lose belly fat. You want to be making sure you're getting 1 gram of protein for every pound in your body weight. So you're taking your protein really, really high. So that's so important. But if you weigh over 170 pounds or a bit more, shoot for your goal body weight. So if you're a woman and you're 200 pounds and you're thinking, oh, my goal body weight is 160 pounds, then eat 160 grams of protein. Now, you talk about carbohydrates. Can you eat bread and rice? To a certain extent, yes, but you just need to limit carbohydrate. And if you're gonna eat bread, I would recommend whole grain bread, because one of the reasons that we can have belly fat is because we're insulin resistant. And by the way, about 80% of Americans are walking around with insulin resistance, and you're much more prone to it at this time in life. And so that's all about your body regulating its blood sugar levels, and your body's getting less effective at that. And so what that means is you're going to store more fat around your midsection. So if you are insulin resistant, and you kind of almost assume you are, is you want to be avoiding certain types of carbohydrates. So that's things with white flour and refined sugar. So refined sugar and white flour. You want to go for whole grains. You want to go for kind of squashes, sweet potatoes, oatmeal, brown rice, black rice, red rice, quinoa. Go for those kinds of carbohydrates, but also limit them. You want to make sure, you're eating a moderate amount of carbohydrates. What does that mean? It's kind of between 100 to 200 grams per day of carbohydrate. That's what you want to be aiming for. And if you want more on this, have a look at my free nutrition guide. I'm going to link it here, and I'm going to link it in the description. But it's a free nutrition guide that you can download today that is going to work beautifully for you, Caroline, with belly fat. That's where you want your information on how you should be eating. And it's not as drastic as just cutting out altogether bread and rice, because let's be realistic, you want to be implementing this in the long term. And so those are sort of things, cutting out bread and rice tend to be sort of short-term fixes, but you want something that you can stick to for a good length of time that's actually manageable. And so saying to someone, oh yes, don't have white bread but have whole grain bread and eat brown rice, is actually much more manageable for most people than just saying you can't eat any of that at all for the rest of your life. It's not realistic, is it? So implement those. And when we're talking about cardio, just small amounts of cardio. So 3 times a week, 15 minutes, up to 30 minutes. Try and make it high intensity interval training, because that's going to burn fat, and particularly around your midsection, you'll find it's much better for burning fat than steady state cardio. So my top tip, and this is kind of like my final tip when it comes to kind of belly fat, is also just think about that sleep. How well are you sleeping? Because getting enough sleep is going to be really important for balancing your hormones in this time of life, and therefore getting better fat loss. Or if we put it the other way, if you're not getting enough sleep, what can happen is you're going to store more fat. You're actually going to get cravings, because getting less sleep actually triggers some of those hunger hormones to sort of really kick in. And so what you'll find is you're probably going to crave carbohydrate, crave sugar if you're getting less sleep, but also it's harder for your body to burn fat. You're going to have things like increased insulin resistance, for example, by not getting enough sleep. So do try and put some really good sleep hygiene strategies in. Things like making sure you're going to bed and getting up at the same time every day, actually losing technology just before you go to bed as well, that sort of thing is going to really help. So do let me know in the comments section if you've got a problem with belly fat and you're like Caroline and you're going to start implementing these, and also let me know how you get on.